Good morning or good evening from around the world, wherever you may be. This is Deja Brew, waking you up to truth. Most of you know me by EarthSong. My name is Kelly, and I am your host, or like I like to say, hostess with the mostest. I want to call today's podcast, The Volunteers Are Waking Up. Now, some of you who have been following my work for a while, you understand who I am and my backstory. But for those of you who are new and just tuning in, let me give you a quick recap. I am a lifelong experiencer of the paranormal, metaphysical, and yes, alien/UFO phenomenon. I came here with a knowing. From a very small child, I spoke to my parents about being here for something we would come to know as the Great Awakening that would take place in my late 40s. That we are who we've been waiting for. The world as we know it will change, and that nothing can stop what is coming. Now, in that, I was also shown great earth changes, great solar changes, great interesting science and technology being revealed, but also that our solar system isn't what we thought or were taught that it is, that there's so much more, and that quantum physics and entanglement are very, very real things. As I got older and I started to do research on various different things, I discovered Dolores Cannon and her word or term that she gave to many of these volunteers. She called them starseeds, star children, indigo child, rainbow children. You get the gist. I personally don't like labels, so I'll just call us all the volunteers, because there is less division in using that wording. And that is a very important part of this whole mission, is to not have division. This is a time of unity. This is a time of revealing the truths and realizing not just who we are, but what that means, what we can do with that, how it rewrites Earth history, human history, galactic history in our knowing. And tonight I ran across this video. I have never known anything of this Vivian Shove A or the Portal to Ascension channel until tonight. And it showed up on my news feed. And I watched it. And I was very surprised at how much of what she says are things that I know personally. Things about our 12-strand DNA. Things about the quantum field. The holographic body. How we are here in a human vessel, but our soul remembers coming from another place, far away from here. I want to play a snippet from the beginning, and then I want to come back to this section about the DNA. Take a listen.
Interdimensional space, galaxy, universe, planets, they come from everywhere. You also shifting in the quantum field of the DNA. The DNA itself, we talk about the 12 strand, but it's a little bit more complex than that. There's also the multidimensionality. On a conscious level, the vibrational aspect of the planet, as well as the collective consciousness, has been rising significantly. And the level of collaboration, guidance, protections through the galactic communities and even beyond is phenomenal. People who are more consciously attuned, they will pick up on there's something different about you. I cannot quite understand what it is.
Okay, we're going to pause it right there. We're going to bump ahead here. Because she touches on many points right there at the beginning. Things that I speak of often. Things that I encourage my friends, my family, complete strangers, people who desire being clients, so on and so forth, to go to my website and sign up for the sessions that teach you how to unlock your 12-strand DNA, teach you how to activate your 144 fire codes within your DNA, teach you how to activate Kundalini and really what that's all about. Which, by the way, I have a step-by-step on that in the works for everyone, totally for free. And yes, I do charge a small price for these sessions because money is an energy. And if you're not willing to put any energy into what there is to be learned from what I have found, unfortunately, that you're not really serious enough about applying what you learn. Either you're not disciplined enough to learn it, you're not interested enough to learn it, or you're still trying to use drugs and alcohol and be under the influence while you're learning. And none of these things are the proper way, the respectful way to go about learning these things. And too many that I've given this to for free have done exactly those things I've just listed, rather than taking it serious and wanting to be fully immersed in learning how to raise their vibration, activate the Kundalini, enhance the third eye, tap into universal knowledge and the Akashic records. Let alone be a light worker, hold the grid, hold the line. So that's the reason for the small fee. Other than that, I would give it away for free because that is how I started. I'm sure this lady also has things that she offers that you would have to pay a fee for. And I'm pretty sure, not for her necessarily, but all of those other people that offer instruction and insight are charging enormous fees, and they're not really giving you that much. Matter of fact, most of the spiritual realms of this world are full of bullshit, in my opinion. They're just fluffy bunny rainbow crap, kumbaya crap. It's not the real meat and bones of it. But this lady, she's got some meat and bones to her information. That is exactly the things that I was downloaded with or came here with the memory of already as a small child. So I want you to listen to some of what she has to say in the hopes that it will inspire you to take this knowledge seriously and want to truly learn it, activate, remember, and utilize it, not just for yourself, though that is very important, but also for the planet. Because these earth changes I spoke of at the beginning, they're upon us. And they're serious. And we need enough of us to want this, to know this, in order to overcome this in a great way. Because we do have timelines converging. And it's important that we choose the more optimal timeline for the whole. This is a collective awakening. And there is a huge reason why I am here and why she is here for this. Take a listen.
Seeds. My body itself is not completely human. It's designed to be as.
Hold on, she sounds really slow. What's going on with my playback speed is like slowed down. Let me speed this up. She sounds crazy. Let's try it again.
A human. That's the difference. You would say, but Vivian, I saw you drinking water, you ate fruits, you sleep. Yes, I have all of these functionality that allow me to understand the experience of being as an earth humans. But in reality, even my physical form, my body here was engineered by the Arcturians, were our advanced technology. We're utilizing different form of advanced holographic technology to create matrices of life. And then from there, the biosystem can be incorporated, and then my consciousness can enter this very complex form. But it was engineered by the Octorians.
Oh, wait a minute.
This is a project of love, and we have to understand that Arcturian are known as one of the most advanced, enlightened intergalactic civilizations they are. We've been interacting with the Earth and your quadrant, known as your solar system.
My apologies. I guess it must be back here.
And the level of collaboration, guidance, protections through the galactic communities and even beyond is phenomenal. People who are more consciously attuned, they will pick up on there's something different about you. I cannot quite understand what it is. And even today at this conference, a vendor came to me and says, I remember the first time I met you, Vivian, there's something about you I can't understand or feel. There's something that I feel is different. So what you're picking up on, or many people have been picked up on so far, is my Octorian self. So what does that mean, Joan, is that I am truly an Arcturian being in this projected hybrid form. And so I took on this embodiment to allow me to be physically, tangibly on the planet so I can interact with all of you and work with the planet and do the mission, bring in the mission that we've come to do. I could have come just as a point of contact, meaning stay in my Arcturian original form and connect through other channels, Reiki masters, Lightworkers, teachers, and even starseeds. My body itself is not completely human. It's designed to be as a human. That's the difference. You would say, but Vivian, I saw you drinking water, you ate fruits, you sleep. Yes, I have all of these functionality that allow me to understand the experience of being as an earth humans. But in reality, even my physical form, my body here was engineered by the Arcturians, were our advanced technology. We're utilizing different form of advanced holographic technology to create matrices of life. And then from there, the biosystem can be incorporated, and then my consciousness can enter this very complex form. But it was engineered by the Arcturians. This is a project of love, and we have to understand that Octorian are known as one of the most advanced, enlightened intergalactic civilizations they are. We've been interacting with the Earth and your quadrant, known as your solar system, for well over 3 million of years now. So this has been a project, if you want, of conscious partnership, collaboration, soul agreements for generations. My human parents, grandparents, all of this, there's many generations involved. So we have to understand that it took many generations to create and stabilize the perfect genetic blend through allowing the blending with Octorian genetic material and stabilize the holographic matrix that will allow me to be here today. And I have a really wonderful heart energy story about this. During World War II, my mother's father, my grandfather, okay, my mom's dad, was a soldier. He was sent out with the Canadian Army for 16 months in the front line. So he was front row of those conflicts. And he has reported very clearly of having missing time where he cannot explain what happened. And what I mean by that is that one time he was with his platoon, and the next time, within 5 minutes, it seems, he was redirected with another platoon completely in a different location. He has no explanation, never had any explanation. So I asked my Arcturian team. They said, well, we knew that the probability of him not coming back or surviving were too high, and it would have been disrupting the timeline that we're creating for the genetic gene pool. So we have to relocate him safely, so to make sure he can return from the war safe and sound. So he was protected. That's an example of this. Why are the Arcturians evolve very much more involved with the human beings? So we've been working with a multitude of channels and teachers for a long time. I mean, many people have written books about the Arcturians, their own experience. Someone like Tom Kenyon, love his book. You can tell he's been communicating with us. So we've been interacting and guiding a lot of souls on the planet that are what we call our point of contact. The goal is to really coach and help to support the next level of the ascension or the reascension process that you've been undergoing for generations. But we've come at a critical point in a timeline where the awakening as many souls as possible is what is triggering that elevation of the earth to the fifth frequencies and even beyond. So we've been very much hands-on, if you want, as masters, as guides, to bring into influence, like paradigm shifters in a positive way. We're here to support the evolution, the natural organic evolution of an entire civilization. This is something we have done for a very long time throughout the multiverse. So we are masters at soul evolutions, soul healing, teachings, coaching. We do a lot of this to simplify. Now,
and I just want to pause that for a moment so that you can understand this a little better. The volunteers are here, not just Arcturians, but from many different civilizations. At this point in time, because of a cyclical event that is to take place, that will affect the sun, that will affect the planet, and if there are not enough people here to hold the line for the planet and raise its vibration, history will repeat itself in negative ways. This is not information to make you scared. This is not information to push you in any way that is negative. But it is information that you need to understand. The earth is shifting. She's growing and changing. She will be affected by the sun growing and changing from other forces within our solar system that many people are not aware of that are there. It's a cyclical event that has happened time and time again throughout history, well documented, scientifically peer-reviewed fact. Noah's flood, ice ages, even Atlantis, though that's debatable by a lot of the scientific community. All of these things were caused from cyclical events that happened to the planet. There weren't enough souls here to hold that vibration and raise it as the magnetic field lowered. There are enough souls here this time, boots on the ground, but they have to wake up and they have to activate what is inside of them. It isn't hard work. It isn't complicated work. You don't have to be a saint. You don't need to be perfect. But you do need to learn the proper steps. And there are so many people out there not teaching you that there are steps to take to be more than you are. And the ones that are teaching it are not giving you the whole truth, for reasons we won't get into in this episode. But a lot of my truther people understand where I'm going with that. You can pick up what I'm throwing down. I'm talking to you person to person, soul to soul right now. I need you to listen to your inner voice that is calling you to wake up. And remember who you are, why you're here, and what you can do. And if you can't fill in all of those blanks, I have some answers that may just resonate with you. And so does she. I'm going to let her finish speaking here.
My mission, that's another branch into the process. I chose to be physically or more physically in core to the planet, to be a very direct, clear conduit, and to keep the purity of those frequency transmission. I'm like a transmitter, and the new codes that were coming through by sequential aspect through the timeline. So I'm here to help stabilize the ascension timeline, but ultimately my true role is to bring in the future timeline that we're coming into. In the meantime, I do a lot of healing work. I've been doing this for over 10 years from a public perspective. I've been doing countless of interviews, conferences, speaking engagements. And every time what we do is we sustain that next level of frequency, evolutionary frequencies, that helps to build up the momentum. For example, to upgrade a body template, the human body template is shifting. Are you shifting out of carbon base? You're moving into a more crystalline diamond light for light body ascension. You're also shifting in the quantum field of the DNA. The DNA itself, we talk about the 12 strand, but it's a little bit more complex than that. There's also the multidimensionality of the DNA and how the complexity of it, it's starting to come back more into conscious activation. So we also help to clear the fear-based paradigm to what we call a reversal of thought system. And that reversal is really helping everyone to return and awaken, to go, deep breath, I feel like I just awakened from a deep dream. What happened? Where are those thoughts that were keeping me in a very specific spiral of behavior and pattern and emotion? That's because you're transcending beyond this. You're starting to live more in parallel to the third density. Parallel means that you're still functioning, you're still understanding the functionality as you've known it and understood it for generations. At the same time, it allows you to unwind yourself from being pulled into that matrix that keeps you with a more a lower frequency, lower thought forms, distortion, fear, doubt, anxiety. You're starting to walk in parallel. That means that you understand, you still feel, you're still experiencing, while maintaining a higher level of connectedness, and you're getting strengthening your core. You start to get more confident about yourself. You feel that your core of empowerment is expanding. Your mental faculties are expanding beyond the 3D lower logic mind, and your emotional maturity is also evolving. This is why it's called living more by empathic responses.
Right. Because what you are doing is essentially learning to trust your instincts more, love yourself more, tap into universal wisdom more, really wake up to who you are and why you're here. Because you're not here by accident. You're not listening to this video by mistake. There are no coincidences. Everything that happens to you is synchronistically leading you to your awakening. And it's time to realize that and trust it. Now I want to bump over to here real quick.
And more people are rediscovering those frequencies, attune themselves to it, and then of course there can be an interpretation that I am an Arcturian. Now it is possible, of course it is, that many people have a soul ancestry in our realm. So through the prism of your expression as a...
I'm going to skip past that part a little bit. Basically what she's saying there is that some of us aren't necessarily a starseed or a volunteer, but we come from a lineage, a bloodline that is here on Earth now that came from specific star systems. And so we're going to be able to relate with, like her, Arcturians, like me, Pleiadians. Others, it's, Syrians or Lyrans. We come from many different star systems, or our past lives were with other star systems, or our bloodlines are connected to those star systems. It could be that your grandfather came from that star system, but you specifically did not ever experience being there, right? That's basically the gist of what she's explaining right now. But bottom line, if you have this in your bloodline in any way, shape, or form, whether you're a volunteer or not, you're going to be drawn to these things, and you're going to be called to awaken, because it's within the familial bloodlines that we also awaken at this time to assist in this collective evolution of consciousness and of the planet. Okay?
Arcturian being, and they have embodied human form, and sometimes that human template was a little bit altered to support better that star seed. So it makes them, technically the word hybrid may apply in that context, but we understand that they have embodied originally a human form. It's just simply being enhanced, if you want, or adding on some DNA strands or some aspect to support that soul and their mission. So there's a lot of different level of hybrid. It's a huge umbrella. So you embody those soul aspects. There may be some soul memories, but many of them have chosen, which is very wise on their part, to come into a human form, because this way the body template is more in tune with the earth frequency and the requirements of this third density. You have to think about, for us to be on the planet, it is an extraordinary feast of effort and energy for us to be here. We come from a world of non-density, non-fragmentation, non-polarity, and even our physical body, if you want to call it this way, it's much more ethereal, much more light. And there's a grace about us. There's an anxiousness about us, an understanding of wisdom that is clear. So when you come back into a descending form, such a template like the human form as of right now, the body feels very heavy. So it's very much every star seed or...
Okay, and I will share this link in the description so you can listen to the whole thing if you wish to. I want to go ahead and bump ahead here to this portion of this because I think this is very important for all of you to understand these different waves of starseeds. And God rest her soul, I love Dolores Cannon and all of her information. She was definitely the grandmother and way shower for all of us in understanding why we're here and who we are. In contexts that are varying, of course, but nevertheless, she was like ground zero for a lot. But she was incorrect in saying there were only 3 waves of starseeds. There were many more, and they are still happening to this day, because it doesn't end with the 3 waves. It's a continuation of integration and collective consciousness, evaluation, and evolution. So we need to understand that.
Before that, 1920s, 30s, 40s, they were very much the pioneers. And of course, I'm just going back as far in time, but the volunteers, but also the pioneers who have set the pace in a place where the density, where the collective consciousness was so close. Even myself, when I grew up, the word hybrid was never mentioned. No one would talk about me. I remember even in my family, like no one would talk about who I am. It was always kept secret to protect me, not to talk about it, because it was not part.
And that is a very common theme. See, I was raised in the 70s and 80s, and even still into the early 90s, I was being told by my family to keep my mouth shut. Don't tell people who you are. They're not ready to accept it yet. I was being protected and I was being guided, and they were correct. This was not something that I could just come out with to the public at that time. This is the time for telling our truths. This is the time for publicly announcing who we are and why we're here, to be beacons to wake up the others.
Part of the collective consciousness energy, they couldn't visualize that. Only my parents know.
Okay.
I grew up, I have a beautiful, beloved brother. Transfer of soul essence that convey everything that being wants to say to you. And that form of communication, which is so much more advanced, there's no misunderstanding, accent, language, pronunciation. It's just very much of a soul essence. So when we are together, we recognize the individual expression of each soul within our own civilizations, also as a group. So it is challenging for me to illustrate this form of communication, but the best way I can say that, beyond holographic telepathic communication, will be soul essence connection and transfer, like an exchange. We're truly starting to scratch the surface of something much more deeper and magnificent. We understand the challenge of moving out of a structure into a new one, but we can assure you, you've been preparing for this for eons. And the level of collaboration, guidance, protections through the galactic communities and even beyond is phenomenal. So rest assured that you're walking with a huge team every day, and we always says, walk in the certainty of your light.
Amen to that. Okay. So, I sincerely hope that helped you to understand better who you are or even who we are, you know? Not everyone who is called to listen to this is necessarily a volunteer, but you still play a role, as we all do, because we're in this together. And again, I want to emphasize that there should be no division between us, right? No division. That's very important. We're all in this together, collectively. Now, I want you to hear something else. Let me just make this bigger.
So tell me, out of everything you've ever done, what's the craziest experience you've ever had?
That's easy. Earth.
Earth? You went to Earth?
I did.
No way. You were a human?
I was.
Wow. Are the stories about Earth true? Were they really trapped on Earth?
Some were. I know because I was one of the volunteers.
Wait a second. You volunteered to go to Earth?
I did. I had to. I had family trapped on Earth.
But how could you get trapped on Earth?
You had to be there to understand. On Earth, you wouldn't remember anything.
What do you mean you wouldn't remember anything?
I mean, you would have no memory of anything. You wouldn't even remember existing before Earth.
What? How is that possible?
It was designed that way. It was brilliant. To dive as deeply as possible into such ignorance, such darkness, and still find your way back to remembering who you were, that took true mastery.
Wow. I still can't believe you went to Earth. Tell me more.
Well, Earth had its own set of laws that everyone agreed to experience, like gravity. What goes up must come down, like linear time. Day is followed by night.
Time? What's time?
You know how when we think of something it manifests instantly? Well, on Earth there was a delay. The delay is what made Earth so difficult.
Interesting. Time. So tell me more.
Before going to Earth, you would choose your family, whether you wanted to be male or female, what race you wanted to be, the location on the planet, things like that.
Oh, so you could choose your own character.
Exactly. You would enter the Earth as a baby and be completely dependent on others to teach you the rules. But since nobody could remember the rules, they made up their own rules, based on fear and giving your power away to others.
That doesn't sound like much fun.
It wasn't for everyone.
What'd you do while portions of you were on Earth?
I watched them.
I just want to pause this for a minute to say there were a lot of volunteers that could not handle this type of contract that we agreed into, that didn't make it, that gave it their all, but just couldn't handle the energies of this planet. They're dense, they're ugly, they're bombarding, they're painful, they're hurtful, they're deceitful. The level of sadness that so many of us have felt was truly more unbearable than they could have ever imagined. So they checked out. In one way or another, they opted out. And that's okay. It's okay that they did that. It doesn't make them a failure. It doesn't make them a defector. It doesn't make them anything negative. The only thing to take away from that is that we need to hold space for them and honor them for giving it their best try. Because it takes a real warrior to make it through this world. And those of you that are still listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want you to hear this. Be proud of yourself. Truly proud. And pride is fine. Pride is not a bad thing. Love yourself. Be proud of yourself. Walk tall with your shoulders back and your head held high, because you made it, honey. You made it. We're here. We're at the precipice. It's almost over. The finish line is right in front of us. Don't give up now. Breathe that sigh of relief and know that you are stronger than you realize. You're more of a warrior than you realize. And you are so much more necessary and appreciated than you realize. Thank you for still being here. Thank you.
It was pretty funny.
What was so funny?
Here were these magnificent beings, playing the most unique and cutting-edge experience in the universe, and they were clueless. I tried to guide them as much as possible.
Wait a second, you could communicate with them?
Yes, but they couldn't hear me. I would show them synchronicities, or send them impulses to help guide them, but they couldn't see the signs.
Why not?
They didn't trust themselves.
So is that why they sent out a call for help?
Exactly.
Is that when you went?
No, I didn't go until later. The first volunteers, they had it the worst.
What do you mean, had it the worst?
Well, they killed them.
What?
They killed the volunteers.
They killed them?
Those on Earth couldn't understand what the volunteers were telling them. The idea that they were equal to the volunteers scared them.
What were they telling them?
Common sense stuff like, all the answers you seek are inside you. Everything I can do, you can do and more.
So they killed them?
And then...
Any idea who they're speaking of there? Does the name Jesus ring a bell? We knew this time we needed to come in great numbers, because they can't get us all.
Then they twisted the volunteers' message and created even more fear.
What do you mean, more fear?
Like the message, God is inside you, was turned into, you are separate from God. The message, all the answers you seek are inside you, was twisted into, you can't trust yourself.
And they believed it?
It was out of control.
How could they believe that?
You had to be there to understand. Did you know they actually believed that they were the only intelligent life in the universe?
Now that's funny.
Pretty crazy, I know.
So then what happened?
The designers knew Earth was going to enter a section of the galaxy that humans had never experienced before. A section filled with a frequency that might be able to reconnect the human's DNA.
What was wrong with their DNA?
It didn't work anymore. The thing is, their DNA was how they connected with their higher self.
So that's why your incarnations couldn't hear you.
Exactly. But there was a catch with the new plan. Only those incarnated on Earth could tune in to these new frequencies.
Oh, so they needed more volunteers.
Yes, but this time they were taking no chances. To pull this off, they needed millions in the physical form, wired and ready to attune to these frequencies.
Are these the 21st century humans that all the stories are about?
Yep. We volunteered from every corner of the universe to help the humans wake up.
What did the volunteers have to do once they got there?
We had to wake ourselves up, attune to these frequencies, and spread them to the rest of the planet.
That sounds impossible.
Most of those watching the Earth experiment didn't think we could pull it off.
So, what happened when you got to Earth?
Once on Earth, we were taught the same fear-based beliefs that had been handed down for eons. We lived just like everyone else, totally clueless to who we were and what was getting ready to happen. But as soon as the Earth entered this cloud of frequencies, we started to question everything. And one by one, we started to wake up.
So the plan was working.
It was. The more we trusted ourselves, the quicker we reconnected. And the faster we started to remember what was happening. And since we were spread out evenly all around the planet's frequency began to rise quickly.
What happened when the planet's frequency began to rise?
The humans' experience of time began speeding up. They started manifesting their beliefs faster and faster. Those consumed with fear created even more fear, and eventually...
I want to pause that right there because there's something we need to touch on with that. Time is speeding up. And sometimes we realize that, and sometimes we don't. But there are visual cues to show us that it is. There is a person on YouTube called Mr. MBB333 who has been showing thousands of people from around the world, all over the world, who are witnessing flickering lights and lights turning purple. In the houses, on the streets, billboards, signs on buildings, lights flickering. Now, how does this have anything to do with time speeding up? Simple. If any of you see a light flickering like that, record it with your video player and then play it back. Mess with it a little. Maybe slow down the video a bit, the speed, and watch those lights begin to appear constant. And this will be your evidence, your scientific visual evidence that time is speeding up. Now you may be asking, how would that work if you're slowing down the video? Because you need to see it in real time. If time is speeding up, just like Einstein said, if you're going fast, if you're accelerating, everything around you slows down. The lights are a way of showing you that slow motion of the speeding up. I know, a little trippy, but I promise, I'm right. And you can see this for yourself. This is something you can test totally for free for yourself. Moving on.
Eventually, Earth just spun out of control.
What do you mean, spun out of control?
These low-frequency beliefs that had controlled the human experience for eons could no longer exist, so they began to self-destruct, and the world fell into complete chaos.
That sounds terrifying.
It was for those living in fear, but for us volunteers, we all knew it was the end of the old energy and the beginning of the new.
So then what happened?
A tipping point was reached in our awakening, and we created a new Earth.
A new Earth? What happened to the old Earth?
It continued on, allowing those who could not let go of their fears to play out their lessons. But for us...
And that is where the timeline split comes in. We're not literally creating a new planet. We're creating our own timeline. We're choosing our own timeline because they're funneling down to the tube. And we are in that accelerated motion now of funneling down to two timelines. So it's time to choose what timeline you're going to be on.
We created a new Earth that matched our higher frequency. And as easy as that, all the fear-based beliefs simply fell away. In an instant, we remembered who we were. We knew we were all connected, and we stopped hurting each other. We started respecting each other, started loving each other. We took back our power to create, and we created a new Earth without fear.
Wow, so the legends are true. What an incredible experience that must have been. Nice work.
Thanks.
This was created by this man here, and I can't think of what his name was right off the bat, but I'm going to also share the link to this video in the description below because he is a starseed. He is a volunteer. These are his children. And he has a lot of great things to say that could help someone out there. So I will also be sharing his link to his YouTube channel. And I do apologize to him for not remembering what in the world his name is, but I will share it and then you'll know. And I'm not going to keep you much longer, but I do want you to really listen to your inner voice and that inner calling, so that you can wake up to who you truly are, because you are really amazing, beyond words, magnificent and miraculous. And because so many have forgotten the truth of who we are, and the words of people like Jesus have been twisted and tainted to not be taken as literal, many just really don't know how limitless they are. And for each one of you individually, I wish this knowing for you, to ease your pain and ease your sadness and ease your traumas and help you to see from a new perspective and realize that you were right all along in feeling like you deserved better and you deserved more. And it wasn't selfish, and it wasn't some ego that you need to stuff down and get rid of. That you are enough. You're more than enough. You're the chosen. And the chosen had to go through more strife and more pain than the others possibly. I know many of my friends, family, clients that have become friends. This is their truth. Deep struggles, deep pain, deep sorrow, deep loneliness. Where you once felt alone, we now stand in solidarity together. This is a uniting. This is a call to remember and reunite, rejoin, regroup, and a rebirth of your truths. For each of us on an individual level and as a collective. And there are no boundaries. It isn't just humanity. It isn't just volunteers. It isn't just anything. Because the entire existence of the cosmos is deeply invested in this. Deeply loves this planet, deeply loves the life on it. Invested to see it succeed. the way we invest in our children, the way we invest in our spouse, the way we invest in our parents. A bond, a love that words can't measure, and nothing can erase. Together we are powerful, and you are not alone. Please remember, wake up to your truth. Be brave enough to learn more and allow more knowledge to come through you, whether it's through me or any other source. And if you are called to have me as your guide, I promise that I am that beacon that will lead you home to self. All of my links are down below. Welcome to the Great Awakening. Welcome home.